So I've been using the 13-inch M1 MacBook Pro with 8GB of unified RAM for the past few weeks, and I wanted to do a comparison video with the Dell XPS 9570 with the i7 Intel chip that I've been using for just under 2 years. I'm not too much of a data-driven tech guy, so please expect this to be more opinion and user interface based than not intensive with numbers and stats. With that being said, let's get into the video. Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Tom and I make random videos about all things that I love in life. And right now, I'm really wanting to explore the differences between these two laptops because workflow and being productive in life is really important, even if you're not a full-time freelancer. Just having the efficiency to come home from work, or even if you use a laptop from work and having the best experience for the best amount of time, make sure you maximize the time on here so you can spend more time with friends and family and doing other things that you love. Straight out the bat, I wanted to mention that I'm comparing a 15-inch Dell to a 13-inch Mac because Apple obviously at this stage do not have a bigger version of this MacBook Pro with the M1 chip. So going forward with the things I'm going to cover, I'm just going to ignore the difference in screen size just to make it fair, because I know in 2021 Apple do plan on bringing out a bigger version of this MacBook Pro with the M1. I'm a freelance photographer and filmmaker, so a lot of my work requires fast rendering and exporting as well as battery life. Once travel resumes again, it's really important for me to be able to work on the road, at airports, in the plane, waiting around for stuff, in taxis, things like that. Which brings me to the first pro of the MacBook. Battery life is insane. If you're watching this video, you might have heard that it boasts 20 hours, which is just stupid. Like over the past few weeks when I'm just doing data entry stuff, admin things, emails, going through a few things, even watching some YouTube videos, I'm able to get around 16 hours of work done before plugging in to charge again, which is just blows my mind. And on the other side with the Dell, I don't know if this is my bad luck or anything, but when I first bought this new, I could maybe get 5 hours or 4 hours of work with it. But now I'm actually I've got another battery here. I'm about to replace the battery for the third time because I'm getting, about an hour to maybe 2 hours of work done. Now, if we're talking about editing videos, it's even less. I might get an hour if I'm lucky. Whereas with the Mac, I seem to be able to get 5 to 6 hours of intensive 4K editing before it starts getting to about that 20 to 30% range where I want to plug in so I don't lose the project. Now let's talk about the render and exporting ability. For this test, I've loaded just a 4K video I did a little while back and just exported it natively in Premiere Pro on both, and the results actually kind of surprised me. For the render and export, I plugged both of them into a power source because I know when they're not plugged in, the Dell in particular works less efficiently. With all the videos I've seen online, everyone boasts about how good the MacBook Pro with the M1 chip is compared to any other laptop in its price range, and I seem to have not found the same thing. So when I was exporting, it actually took the same video 2 minutes and 44 seconds more to export with the Mac on the same settings. Now with that being said, 2 minutes isn't a huge deal, but it's so weird having a completely different experience than other people. But the one thing that I did notice is the Dell sounded like a jet engine and I couldn't hear the Mac at all. So I don't know whether it's just not using enough RAM to then turn on the fans and boost that power, but the Dell seems to be a little bit quicker, but of course that comes with the noise. So in terms of noise and performance, I don't know whether to give it to the Dell because I'd prefer to have no noise and an annoying drone sound and go with the Mac. So I'd say in this category, they're pretty much a draw. Let's move on to photography. I live predominantly on Lightroom and Photoshop for this, and this is where I think Dell takes the cake. This is a 4K display, and the Mac only has a 2K display, so the big win actually comes with Dell's touchscreen. And to be honest, at the beginning when I got the Dell, I didn't use it too much until I really got the convenience of being able to move around with so much ease. In my opinion also, running around photos and doing effects is much easier on the Mac trackpad because it is double the size and it's really sensitive compared to the Windows trackpad. That being said, in my opinion, it doesn't beat the ease of having a touchscreen. So my point for photography actually goes to the Dell. Next up is design and build. This may seem like a really redundant point, but I think it's super important. In design, I would say they're both quite sleek and sexy. The Dell is obviously a lot bigger and chunkier. The thing that I'm actually getting used to is the fact that there's only 2 Thunderbolt ports, as opposed to having a USB-C, multiple USBs, HDMI, headphones, all of that inbuilt into the Dell. So I've had to purchase something like a 7-in-1 tool, for example, that gives the conversion to HDMI, USB, etc. Now, the Dell obviously has all those features built in, so $30 isn't gonna make or break the bank, but the convenience is pretty nice to have it on a Windows. Just because the design and build, and because I'm not comparing a 13-inch to a 13-inch, I've seen the Dell XPS 13, and it's actually just as sleek and sexy as the new MacBook. So for this category, I'd also give them a draw. Now onto sound. I think the Mac has much better quality speakers. Again, I don't know if it's my luck with the Dell, but it actually sounds super tinny, and it has different distortions that happen during a video that lasts for a minute or two and then goes back to normal. In terms of the actual decibel quality and the decibel amount and loudness, I tracked it using a decibel meter, and it looks like the MacBook Pro was only on average about 5 decibels louder, but that's also coming from a laptop that's much smaller. So I'd have to give this point for quality and loudness to the Mac. As for price point, this Dell is 2 years old at this stage. I know they've come out with newer models with newer features, and just while I'm comparing the two of these, they're quite similar in price too. When we're talking Australian dollars, a refurbished Dell XPS 15 will be about $1,500, whereas this Mac set us back $1,800. So it's not too much of a difference. So when we're talking price mark, I would say that they're pretty similar. With all that being said, if you can't tell by my tone, I much prefer the Mac as opposed to the Dell. Now, the size of the screen in terms of videography is really good. And the touchscreen, like I said, I will miss so much. But the battery life on the Mac is actually a game changer. Being able to be on the road and even just not plugged into a wall for 5, 6, 7 hours, actually doing highly intensive editing work is a huge pro. And I'd imagine that when Adobe update all their programs, we're talking Premiere, Audition, Photoshop, Lightroom, all of that in 2021, it's gonna go even quicker. So while I know that this is really the beta testing stages of the new M1 in terms of the compatibility with all these apps and programs and softwares, I still have no regrets in making this purchase and upgrading from the Dell. So that's about it from me today. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to my opinion on 2 laptops that I just felt like recording. If you enjoyed it, of course, I'm gonna say the YouTube thing of like, comment, subscribe. Everyone does that, why shouldn't I? And what do you guys think of the new MacBook M1? Are you gonna upgrade from your current laptop, or maybe you're gonna wait for the bigger one, the 15, 16, or 17 inch, whichever one they plan to release? Let me know in the comments section below. But that is all from me today. Peace.